Hi, Gina, it's Katelyn. Thanks for the images and thanks for sending before and afters because that's really helpful. Um, so I know you mentioned in your write up that you or the comments on your post, that you want the pop and you want the vibrant colors and so I think too, like, realizing, I think that comes from a combination of a lot of different things. And I'm not sure, I don't remember exactly how long you've been shooting, but just know that it took me a while to find my style, and it wasn't an overnight, like, oh, I found out the secret and now I know how to get perfect images. It took me a while to start to realize exactly what goes into my photos that really makes it my style. I don't know if that makes sense. But really, all I'm trying to say is don't get too hard on yourself if you don't figure this out instantly, because I didn't figure it out instantly, and I don't know any photographer that did. So you're not missing out on tricks. You're not missing out on any secrets. It really just comes with learning and figuring out who you are as a photographer. And so you're doing a great, great job. And I think something to remember too is I know you like bright colors, and I know you want them to be vibrant, and that's definitely something you can achieve, and I can help you achieve. But you also don't want to be too hard on yourself to try to compare to someone else's work, because in the end of the day, like, you want to be you, so that you can replicate your style over and over and over again and perfect your look, not keep comparing it to someone else's. So it's good to compare in a way that makes you grow in your technical skill. But if you are trying to compare because you just want your style to match someone else's style, um, you may just find that you're like digging yourself in a hole, and you're never happy with your work because it doesn't look like someone else's. And I just don't want you to end up that way, because it will get very frustrating if you continue to try to make your photography match someone else's. So that's just something I tell everybody who's trying to perfect a certain thing. Just be patient; it will come, and be sure to make time to figure out what your style is, not just what you want it to be because you see someone else doing it that way. So let's start. If I was editing this now, the high res image or the larger image didn't really upload. So I know this is small, and I apologize. But I'm going to just edit it the way I would. Um, and I mean, honestly, like, I mean, this was shot. Oh, I can't tell what it was shot at. I think you told me. Pretty wide open for the most part. I did up the vibrance just a little bit. It's a cute, cute shot. I mean, I love it. I really love it. So what I'm seeing, it is a little cold. And so again, I'm going to up the warmth just a little bit. But sometimes temperature is not enough. You have to do the highlights. You have to change the highlights of the image and the shadows. So I'm going to do both those at 6% saturation, just to give it a little bit more warmth. Sometimes if you say, you need some more color, I mean, that tree is very green, and her jacket's a great color, and so I don't want to do too much. But if you wanted just to up the saturation a little bit in the greens or the blues, you could do that. But overall, I think that's a beautiful image. And maybe why the reason you don't love this image is because it's very cold. Okay, so let's compare what I just did. Okay, so see the color difference there? It's not really more colorful or more vibrant. It's just warmer. And I think that's something that you may see in my pictures that you like. But really paying attention to the tone of the image. When you look at these pictures over and over again, you're going to start to think that this is actually warm when it's not. It's very blue, very cold. So just warming it up adds new life to images. So it's a beautiful shot. The light's beautiful. I mean, obviously it'd be better if the cars weren't there, but you can't control that sometimes. I love that it looks like she's like just walking casually across the street. So the composition and everything is just awesome, and I love the way you shot it. I think it's really just a matter of learning how to take the highlights and the tones and the temperature of an image and edit that in a way that makes it look very vibrant and warm. So hopefully that was helpful. Let's move on to the next one. So this is obviously straight out of camera. And if you're shooting raw, you should be able to get rid of some of the brightness and not have the problem with highlights. But another thing is if this is edited, I would say that you could take take your exposure down a little bit, and you're still, I mean, that is bright and it's pretty, but let's see, this is what you had it as, yeah, just like that. So that looks pretty and it looks even and bright, but you don't have to be that bright per se to make it look poppy and vibrant. So I'd take it down so you're not blowing out her knee. You need to be able to see detail right here and not just a bunch of white. And then if you think that the rest of the image looks too dark, then you fill it with some fill light a little bit. Up the vibrance, I would just a tad. And this is going over top of what you already did. Again, I am going to just make it a little bit warmer. Just a little bit. Just to see if that makes a difference for you and what you see. So let's compare. Actually, let me duplicate this. So side by side. Okay, so that's what I edited, and that's what you had edited. So what I did was I took the exposure down because you really don't need it this bright. Because if you have it this bright, you lost all detail on the knee, and her face is going to be somewhat blown out, and I don't think that's necessary. So I took the exposure down and then used fill light right here. Let's look at that. I bumped that up to make the image brighter again. And then the only thing I did for color was maybe up the vibrance just a hair, and I made it warmer because once again, when you look at this, I mean, it's beautiful, but if you're just looking at this, you can't really tell that it's cold because that's all you have to compare it to. But when you compare it to this, it's like, oh, I see now. So I really think part of your issue of not having colors or vibrancy is really because your images are not warm enough, and that just comes with practice and realizing, that maybe you need to step away from the computer for an hour or so and not keep editing. Sometimes it takes just stepping away and coming back and seeing it 30 minutes later, an hour later, and thinking, oh, maybe there's a little more blue in that image than I thought. So let's look at the last one, and I guarantee you it's going to be very similar. So I'm just guessing, hold on. Is that before? I don't know. Yeah. So this is before, and that's after. Okay, so let's take the after, and let's warm it up just a little bit. Now, if I kept warming it up, obviously that is not what we need. So it's not a temperature issue, really. I mean, I'm going to warm it up just a tad. It's really it's a tone issue. So let's come down here. 7. Change it. And the reason I change it here is because this is a more magenta highlight. This is a warmer highlight. So, and it doesn't really matter. You just have to play around with what settings you like. This does look a little bit like it has a tint of green. It's got a lot of blue in it. So let's up that just a little bit. I may actually take the blue down some. For some reason, all the shadows are very blue. This is very blue, so I'm just going to take out some of the blues. Just a little bit. Okay? And give it a little bit more vibrance. And I may take this up a little bit more, maybe to 9. So, let's take a look at these two side by side. Oh, not that. Here we go. Okay, so I'm sorry they're different sizes, but do you see how much warmer this image is? I mean, it really there's very subtle changes, but when an image is warm, and you can tell when an image is warm by the skin. So when you look at her legs in the image that I re-edited here versus her skin here, she just looks healthier. She looks warmer and more natural. And so that's the only correction that I would really share with you this week is to really focus on your temperature control. And sometimes that can be in camera and sometimes it's outside of the camera. I try to do everything in camera, so I shoot on shade, white balance a lot to get some warmer skin tones. Even when it's not shade, I'll shoot in shade mode. I don't do custom white balance, but some people do and they're great at it. I just don't need to, or I never have needed to. So for this situation, I think, it really was taking out, there's so much blue going on, and I think that may have been, I don't know if you upped the saturation or the vibrance at all, but I think that's part of the issue in this image. It feels very dead. Beautiful, beautiful photography, but but when the feel of the image is very cold. So that's just something to think about, and I hope this was helpful. So maybe give me some other examples next week of a few more that you try to change the temperature a little bit and see if you really like the way that looks, and if that makes an impact. Because if I'm telling you to change the temperature and you really don't think it makes that big of a difference, then let me know. But I'd love to talk to you. But I really think when you look back at these images, especially some of these, the temperature, the color temperature makes a big, big change. So I hope you have a great Christmas, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.